Just one second. Why don't I see you?
I see you.
You can? You can see me?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You're taking up the majority of the screen, and I'm up in that little box.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
That's what I need to fix. Why don't I see you?
I'm
Oh,
okay
there
with
you
that.
are.
Hi.
Hi. There we go.
You're taking up the majority of the screen, and I'm up in that little box.
Yeah, I know. That's what I need to fix. Okay, hold on one second.
I'm okay with that.
Hi.
Hi. Are we getting mileage?
There we go.
You're taking up
Okay.
the majority of the screen, and I'm up in that little box.
Now we're next to each other. Can you see us side by side? Okay, hold on one second.
No.
Okay, well, I can see us side by side. That's the important thing.
Okay, somebody's calling me from Los Angeles, so they're going to have to get off the screen here in a second.
Okay, no worries. Now we're next to each other. Can you see us side by side? Okay, hold on one second.
No.
Okay, well, I can see.
All I see right now is that
somebody's
calling me from Los Angeles. So again, I see you in the bigger part of the screen, and I'm in the upper right-hand corner.
Now we're next to each other. Can you see us side by side? Okay, there's such a feedback. I don't know why.
All I see right now is that yeah, well, it's like a delay, and it's replaying everything I've said.
Yeah, hold on a second. There's such a feedback. I don't know why. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I hear myself. Yes, I hear you, but I hear the replay of what I was just saying a minute ago.
Okay, do you still hear that now?
No, I don't hear anything now.
Oh, good. Okay. I needed to delete. I needed to mute the thing. Okay, so you can hear me now? Good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Welcome, Dr. Wallach. We are so excited to have you. And this is our first issue of Ask Dr. Wallach. And, I just wanted to talk a little bit about, what makes you different, how we can help people with their health. There's so many health challenges going on with everything going on out there, with the different health issues and things like that. And we want to be able to help people. And you have done a phenomenal job. You have done a great job of sharing an incredible amount of information over the years about health and wellness. And one of the things I know about you, you have a book in the Smithsonian. I heard you got to be dead to get in the Smithsonian, but you're still alive and kicking like a Timex watch. You just keep on ticking and keep on going and going. And so, really, I just want to start with the 90 essential nutrients and why that's essential to everyone, whether you're in good health or bad health. Why is that so significant to people and really having longevity in their life? So talk to us, Dr. Wallach.
Well, thank you, Miss Linda. And hi, everybody. I'm hearing that background voice again.
You are? Oh, I muted it.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, the background voice is gone now.
Okay, good.
All right. Well, basically, the thing that makes me different is I have a degree in agriculture. My major was in animal husbandry and nutrition. My minor was in field crops and soils. So I kind of learned about the basics of the earth. My next degree was in veterinary medicine. And I had to kind of work my way through college. So I started working in the pathology department, helping with autopsies, both with people and animals, to kind of pay my way through school. And in 1964, I graduated. I had my degree in agriculture. I had my degree in veterinary medicine. I was 2 years into a degree with pathology. And I went to Iowa State University to finish up my last 2 years of pathology. And 1 year into it, before I finished, Marlon Perkins from the old Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom show on TV, one of the first biologists on TV, asked me to go to Africa and work on the White Rhino Conservation Project because I had worked with him before and he understood me. And so you can't refuse Marlon Perkins. So I went to Africa, And after 2 years of being there and catching 200 white rhino and 50 black rhino and 100 elephants and things like that to save them and put them in wild animal parks and zoos and things, I'm ready to stay in Africa forever. But then he sends me another letter and says, look, Wallach, using your papers and things from your research, I got a $25 million grant from the National Institutes of Health to study pollution, and I want you to be the pathologist in the project, so you can't refuse Marlon Perkins. So I came back to the States, and to make a long story short, in a 10-year period, I did 20,000 autopsies. I was based at Washington University in St. Louis. And the whole idea was to find species of animals in the big zoos around the United States and the big cities that were susceptible to the same pollutants. This started in April of 1967. And I was supposed to identify the animals that were dying of the same pollutants that people were, because everybody knew everybody was going to die in 2 weeks from pollution back in the 1960s. And to make a long story short again, after 10 years, I had done 20,000 autopsies, 17,000 some change, over 454 species of animals, and let's see here, 3,000 human beings. And no human beings, nor did any zoo animals die of pollution. I also found out, sort of serendipitously as a side thing, there were no genetically transmitted diseases and there were no genetically transmitted birth defects. All vertebrates, whether you're a fish or a snake or a wombat or a human being, or an eagle or an elephant or a monkey, it didn't matter, or a bird of any kind, all vertebrates required 90 essential nutrients to prevent some 900 different diseases. Okay, our cells, our tissues, and our organs required these 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids to give our tissues what they needed to maintain, repair, and replace themselves. And this is for all vertebrates, including humans. Well, my thesis became a book called Diseases of Exotic Animals. That's what's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, because I found there were no genetic diseases. Nobody died of pollution. There were no genetically transmitted birth defects. It freaked everybody out. And then the book on 8,000 human autopsies is the epigenetics, the death of the genetic theory of disease transmission. And it was very obvious that I was fighting uphill. And at that time, I was working after my thesis, and it got put into the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. Very proud of that. I got a job at the medical school in Atlanta, Georgia, at Grady Memorial Hospital as a pathologist. And also I was working for NASA at the Yerkes Primate Center as a pathologist at the same time. And I ran into the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis. I didn't tell anybody that the tissues were from a monkey, but I sent it around to the world, about 10 different universities who were experts in cystic fibrosis, a childhood, quote, genetic disease, unquote. And I said, I think this is cystic fibrosis. What do you think? And they all sent back in their letterhead back in the day, 1977. These are classic examples of cystic fibrosis. Boy, I had it. And then I told everybody that it was in a monkey, and they were really excited because, okay, well, now we're going to have laboratory animals that can study cystic fibrosis. And I said, well, it's even better than that. I found out that it's a nutritional deficiency, and they fired me. They fired me and said, well, you must be sniffing glue, because everybody knows that cystic fibrosis is the classic example of a genetically transmitted disease. I said, well, I knew you'd say that, so I saved blood, from this baby monkey, and I saved tissues and everything. You can redo everything and see if you get the same results I got. Okay, no, you're fired. And so to make a long story short, I went back to school and became a naturopathic physician. But I knew these things, that all vertebrates, including human beings, required these 90 essential nutrients. And so I incorporated that into my practice, and it didn't take long that I'm rebuilding people that had arthritis. I could rebuild their bone-to-bone arthritis in weeks when they'd had it for 20 years with nutritional programs. They called it let's see here, the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack for the humans. It was called the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, and it's 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. And I could regrow disc and cartilage and ligaments and tendons. It was freaking everybody out. And then I got permission to do biopsies of the 24 other baby monkeys in that colony, and they all had cystic fibrosis, and got it published in scientific papers and everything. It was really crazy. And then I discovered the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy. I gave it to Jerry Lewis in the telethon,
Yes.
And he got excited and he took it to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. They fired Jerry Lewis and stopped the telethon, freaking out over that. And then April 16th, 2013, a federal judge finally, after years and years and years and years, forced the manufacturers of baby formulas like Similac and Enfamil, things like that, to put this one mineral into baby formulas, because I had been studying sudden death syndrome, did 1,700 autopsies on kids dying of this. And guess what? Published in 3 languages. So the English version is in the Journal of Trace Element Research. So nobody can say, yeah, Wallach, right, 1,700 autopsies in kids. No, I did it. And it's in English. And to make a long story short, only 2% of the babies that died of sudden death syndrome were in bed with their mothers when they died.
Right.
None of them suffocated. When I redid a whole bunch of the autopsies, none of them had suffocated. They all died of this one nutritional deficiency causing death from a heart attack at 2 months of age and 3 months of age and so forth. So to make a long story short, a year later, September 13th, 2014, the front page of the Charlotte Observer, which is the big newspaper in Charlotte, North Carolina, sort of the like New York Times for the city of New York.
Yes.
We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in North Carolina. That's the term they use, vanished.
Wow.
And then 3 months later, in the state of Missouri, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch came out with the same thing. We don't know why, but sudden death syndrome has vanished in the state of Missouri. And then 3 months later, every newspaper in America came out and said, we don't know why, but the rate of sudden death syndrome has dramatically dropped by 85 to 95% in all states. Well, that's because sudden death syndrome was just due to a simple nutritional deficiency causing death by heart attack in these little infants. And so I figured that one out too. Okay, and this is what I do, because I have all this background and training. I'm not smarter than anybody else, but nobody else has done 32,000 autopsies and 20 million chemistries. And I've published 75 scientific papers, 15 books. I've treated millions of patients every month around the world for 50 years, human patients. So I have an understanding that other people don't have. So that was what makes me different. So I apologize for being a lengthy.
No, I appreciate that. You know, this is our first one, so I like you laying the foundation. And, you know, what is so intriguing about this is that you started this with animals. And when you began to, you know, besides, and we'll get into your story about you curing yourself when you were 9 years old, when the doctors, it's amazing because there's so many children out there and doctors are wanting to say, put them in an institution, lock them up. And really, there's greatness on the inside of them. And I was reading your book, Let's Play Doctor, and you talked about how, you know, a doctor will say, lock them up, or they've got all these diseases, or put them on Ritalin. And meanwhile, they never thought about maybe an allergy, or maybe that they have
nutritional deficiency.
They have nutritional deficiency, which most doctors don't know. They don't learn that in college. And so you learn this from such not only a young age, but you said, well, if it works in animals, it's got to work in people. And so then you're like, oh, I got to go back and get another. You've got so many degrees. We'll get into that later, but it's so exciting because, and you've helped me with my health and millions of other people, which is very exciting. And, you know, if you want to get more of Dr. Wallach CDs, drjwallach.com, drjwallach.com. And if you buy 10 or more, you get a discount. So check it out. I mean, many books. How many books have you written? 13?
15.
Oh, excuse me.
Because the new one makes 15. It's all in your head.
Yes. Yes. That's good. That's good.
Covers the 25 different diseases you get from simple osteoporosis in the skull.
Yeah. And a lot of people are suffering. That was part of my problem. I had,
vertigo.
I had vertigo. And so that's osteoporosis of the skull. And
that's right.
Thankfully, when you told
And how old are you? How old are you when that started?
41.
Mm-hmm.
41.
Yeah, see, doctors think osteoporosis only occurs in people
40.
65. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I was I think I was 39 because I met you when I was 41 and I was 39 years old and I had been living with it for 2 years. I was sleeping sitting up because if I laid down, it was like I was on a merry-go-round 24/7. And the doctors told me, sorry, there's nothing we can do for you except give you medication. And I said, I don't receive that. I said, even though I didn't understand nutrition at the time, and I was a school teacher teaching math, I didn't understand nutrition. I just said, no, there has to be something. My body's missing something. I wake up and I'm on a merry-go-round 24/7. Something's wrong, and they couldn't tell me. And I meet you 2 years later. I'm 40. I was about 41 years old, and you were like, and I ran up to you after a seminar, and I said, Dr. Wallach, my name is Linda Tyler, and I have vertigo. And you were like, oh, Linda, I'll never forget our conversation. You're like, people are dying. You have a calcium deficiency. Take this stuff, and I'm going to show part of what you told me to take. Of course, you
it was the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack.
yes, absolutely. And I took it, and in 10 days, it was gone. Now, of course, I was still a skeptic. So after 10 days, I stopped taking it because I'm thinking I'm cured. And guess what happened? It all came back again.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, this doctor tells the truth. This is exciting. And I quit my job within 6 months as a school teacher, and I've been with you ever since for about the past 12 years. And so thank you for what you've done for me and millions of other people. But that's what's so intriguing to me. When I think about what you've done for so many people, and the Healthy Start Pack, which fights off 900.
Yeah, the Healthy Start Pack is the core of all of our programs for 600 different diseases. The Healthy Start Pack has 90 essential nutrients in it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have anything wrong and you're young, you can start there. But we have secret sauces for over 600 different diseases. So what you do is you add one or more. Sometimes people who are 60, 70 years old, they'll have 18 different diseases. They've got diabetes and high blood pressure, arthritis, and liver disease, and kidney failure. They're on dialysis. So they need like 6 or 7 or 8 of these different secret sauces to deal with all those nutritional deficiency diseases.
Yeah. No, that's so good because, and why is that though? Why are people so deficient? Why have they lost I think years ago, people at least got something out of their food, but that no longer exists. I know Senate Document 264 that says, hey, our soil is no longer has any nutrition. So what happened, and why are we so deficient, and why is it essential for us to supplement?
Okay, there's 2 reasons, but you're very astute. See, you're an angel of God. He's blessed you with a good brain there, okay? So there's 2 reasons. Number 1, nutritional minerals never did occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. They occur in veins like chocolate and chocolate ripple ice cream.
Right.
They occur in veins like gold and silver. And so people lived in some places, people in those areas lived a long time because they were getting 40, 50, 60 minerals. In other areas, they had little or none. They might have 3 or 4 or 5, and they were all sick all the time. And they died 40 years earlier, okay? Right. Because the nutrients weren't in the soil. And plants only need 3. All vertebrates, including human beings, require 60. So you could be 57 short. Now, before 1882, and that was the moment when the electricity switch was pulled. Mm-hmm. We're getting weird things happening here on the screen.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. Thomas Edison pulled the switch. And started electricity. And suddenly now people weren't getting their minerals anymore because it was the wood ashes in the wood stoves and the wood ashes in the fireplaces that they were putting into their gardens that had the minerals, and they were recycling the minerals that way. Okay. Well, when they went to electricity, they didn't have any of that wood ashes being put into the garden anymore. And of course, grandma used to eat spoonfuls of the wood ashes, and the kids would eat wood ashes, and they'd take a spoon and eat the dirt out of the backyard and out of the garden and so forth. They're getting minerals in all kinds of weird ways. And it's one of those things where, and animals, we don't have insurance. So they began to supplement animals to prevent all these diseases, because farmers would go out of business when they'd have to have the veterinarian come out and treat the animals and give them big bills and everything. Yeah. Whereas in human beings, they developed insurance to pay for doctors giving you therapies which just relieve symptoms.
Right.
Okay. And so the symptoms, okay, you have to stop clanking with your shoes. they're not taking my hand signal, so I had to yell at them. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
And so, any rate, is one of these things where, secondly, first of all, it wasn't in the soil anymore, and then secondly, we didn't have wood ashes anymore because we went to electricity.
Right.
Now, and of course, this it was very interesting when you have one community, like in the Black community. There's so many of these diseases said to be genetic in the Black community. And of course, they get treated as they were genetic diseases. They get treated for these things by just giving pharmaceuticals for symptoms.
Right.
And if I may, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, take 2 or 3 minutes, about Pastor Creflo Dollar from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This goes back to, this goes back to 2004, when one of the members of his church in Atlanta, Georgia, called me and says, Pastor, Creflo Dollar's 12-year-old daughter is going to die in a couple of weeks. The doctor says she's going to die in a couple of weeks. She's had since birth a genetic form of asthma found in Black kids, and she just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the end is here. Is there anything we can do? I said, well, yeah, that's not genetic. It's a simple nutritional deficiency. So they did a 3-way with me and Pastor Dollar. He said, well, I'm willing to try anything. So to make a long story short, we put her on the Healthy Start Pack, plus the stuff to help with the asthma in the lungs, the secret sauce for asthma in the lungs. And sure enough, in just a couple of weeks, it was gone after 12 years of getting worse and worse and worse in the near-death experience. So he was so excited, and he asked me to come and give a lecture at the church on the subject. And he also said, now, Wallach, I have to ask you, we have all these diseases said to be genetic in the Black community: high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, cancer, kidney failure, thyroid problems, Alzheimer's disease, you name it. We have all this stuff, asthma and so forth. And they're all said to be genetic in the Black community. And they're just giving us stuff to help symptoms until we die from this genetic disease. I said, sir, if you're asking me straight out, these are not genetic disease, they're all just nutritional deficiencies. So, okay, I'm going to give you 12 of my patients, or excuse me, 12 of my parishioners in my church. They're seniors and they all have these things. Let's see what you can do with them. So, making a long story short, in 3 months' time, these 12 seniors in his church they were disease-free.
Wow.
And so he commissioned a book to be written. And of course, he recorded my presentation, which was, I called it Black Gene Lies. And of course, the book, which he paid to have printed out, is Black Gene Lies. And every Black kid in America needs to read this book. It should be a textbook in every medical school around the world. And doctors should have to take a special test just on the contents of this book to be able to pass and get out of school, because there are no genetic diseases. That's why my thesis is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure.
Yes, that's amazing. And I love that, because you talk about the fact that there are no genetic diseases. And, you know, I had the Healthy Start Pack up here, and why this is so significant to so many people and so many lives of so many people that are deficient in minerals. So can you just talk about, like, if somebody is deficient, do they have the ability to recover their health? Many doctors will say, no, you don't, you must have surgery. You know, is surgery essential, you know, for people? I know it's good if you get hit by a Mack truck and they need to put you back together. But if someone has blood sugar problems, or if they have bone and joint problems, is it something that they need surgery for?
Okay, probably not. Okay, 99% of the times, no. For instance, we get people who've been brittle diabetics and they've had their feet amputated and gone blind for 30 years. Yeah. And we get them on our program, the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, and in 30 days, they're not a diabetic anymore. We get people who are on kidney dialysis because they have, quote, kidney failure, unquote, and they're on dialysis 6 days a week. They haven't urinated in 10 years. They've been on dialysis for 25 years. And in 2 weeks' time, they're off of dialysis. In 6 weeks' time, or excuse me, they're off of dialysis. In 6 weeks' time, they don't have kidney failure anymore.
Wow.
Okay, because really they had plugged arteries. There's nothing wrong with the kidneys. And so all I do is change their diets so their arteries can heal themselves, get the blood flowing into the kidneys. The reason why the kidneys weren't working the arteries were blocked and they couldn't get the dirty blood into the kidneys. It wasn't really anything wrong with the kidneys.
Wow.
And then you take things like heart disease. Let's talk about somebody up in your area, Elijah Cummings.
Yes, sir.
He was a congressman. He was a congressman, what, for 20 years from Baltimore, Maryland?
Yeah, over 20. Yes.
Over 20 years, okay. And he had what's called atrial fibrillation, which is a irregular heartbeat. And when it gets advanced, it can be very disruptive and very scary. Your heart feels like it's jumping out of your chest, and your doctor says, well, you're at a high risk for having a fatal heart attack. We got to do something. And they invented a procedure called ablation, which they anesthetize you. They cut your chest open. They take a soldering iron, which they heat to red hot heat. They touch your heart muscle with that red hot soldering iron to kill portions of your heart muscle to stop it from signaling the heart to jump around. And they killed Elijah Cummings on the surgery table. This is, we're talking about Harvard Medical School in Boston, okay? They killed Elijah Cummings, okay, on the surgery table. The top cardiologists in America, all they had to do was get him off of gluten, wheat, brown, and oats, so he could absorb the nutrients.
Yeah.
Get him on the healthy brain and heart pack. Get him on the de-stress capsules. Get him on the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets to get more circulation through the coronary arteries, and he'd still be alive today, voting in the Congress.
Wow. Wow.
So if they can kill a congressman and get a walk, what do you think they're going to do with just an average day person? Doctors kill tens of thousands of people every month in America from these kind of stupid, unnecessary procedures. They kill tens of thousands of people every month in America from these stupid, unnecessary procedures, and they get a walk.
Wow. And this is so, you know, when you think about all of the things that people are doing and their life that they're living, you know, because yeah, I just wanted to show this.
Oh.
I was just showing the healthy, why I brought up, I don't know why it's dark like that. That's so weird. Okay, well, we'll just stop that. But I was showing the healthy brain and heart pack and it just came up straight black. So, but anyway, like why? So if somebody just says, well, I just want to take vitamin C, vitamin D, you know, I'm going to take a 1 a day. How come that is not enough, especially with, you know, where we are in society? The soil is depleted of nutrition. Why is that not enough? Why do they need the 90 essential nutrients, besides the fact it fights off 900 different diseases? Why is that more significant than just going to a Walmart or a Target and just buying some vitamin C, vitamin D? Why is that not enough to heal the body?
Okay, you're hitting really the very nature of the problem. Okay, let's say when I was a kid, and my grandmother said she didn't, but let's say she would have osteoporosis, and she'd go to her doctor, and she's complaining about pain in her knees and her back and her neck and her arms. He said, "Oh, you know, you're 70 years old, you get osteoporosis." They might even do an X-ray and say, "See here, your bones are very thin. You have osteoporosis. I want you to go to a Walgreens." You can't go there anymore because they're all bankrupt. But you know, you go to CVS or wherever now, and get some Tums, which has some calcium in it, and just take a couple of Tums every day. That's what doctors used to say.
Yeah.
Now, for that calcium to work in your bones and rebuild the bones, you need the other 89 nutrients, including vitamin C and vitamin D and phosphorus and copper and sulfur and all this other stuff, and boron and so forth. And so just to take calcium alone never would cut it. You say, "See, I told you it wouldn't work," but you know, so let's do a double knee replacement for $50,000 per knee. Besides, I got 3 kids to send through college, so thank you for helping me there. Okay, and then the same thing is true for each nutrient. Each nutrient requires a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Okay, cofactors. All right, and this is where doctors, they just don't understand. The other piece is, of course, I'm going to come up to current moments here. Why is it that kids who are 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, when they get the COVID-19 virus infection, they get minor common cold-like symptoms? They never die.
Wow.
Okay, now you talk about the 65, 75, and 80-year-olds, when they get the COVID-19 infection, they die. Well, the difference is for 50, 60, 70 years, people have been eating gluten, pancakes for breakfast. They're drinking beer. They're having things like bread and croutons in their salads. They're having spaghetti 3 nights a week. And so on. And they're eating gluten in every way, shape, and form you can think of. And gluten damages the lining of your small intestines. And you get irritable bowel syndrome. You get celiac disease. You get diverticulitis. You get I said Crohn's disease, ileitis, and all that sort of things. And when you look at all these diseases, intestinal disease under the microscope, they're the same disease, but they give them different names based on location in the intestine. Well, your absorption rate goes down to like 1%, 2%, 3%.
Wow.
And if you're not supplementing, you're in deep trouble. And that's why people who are 60, 70, 80 years old, they'll have high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, they'll have thyroid issues, they'll have kidney failure, they'll have liver cirrhosis, they have dental problems, and they have implants and all these things, and they'll have tinnitus and ringing in the ears and dizziness and so forth. Because these are all nutritional deficiencies, and they're getting nutritional deficiencies of 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 different nutrients, because even if they were supplementing, they couldn't absorb them because their intestines are damaged. So now when it comes to the COVID, people are getting what's called Wallach's fibrous dysplasia. Their bone marrow, which is their immune system, is being replaced with scar tissue and fat. They cannot make white blood cells, which are the cavalry in the Marines, which when you get the virus infection in little kids, they send out a call, and the white blood cells come out of their bone marrow and go through the bloodstream and kill and eat the viruses. Their antibodies go through the bloodstream and kill and eat the viruses. Their bone marrow is still able to make platelets and red blood cells. Okay, now when you're 65, 75, 80, you can't do that anymore because you're not absorbing the nutrients required by your bone marrow to make white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and antibodies. And most people, when they die from the COVID, they don't die of pneumonia. They die of bleeding into the lungs because they don't have any platelets to prevent bleeding. Okay.
Right.
And this happened in India 100 years ago when the Spanish flu came through. They had 110 million infections in just 6 months. They had 20 million deaths in 6 months. They didn't have time to bury the bodies. They're throwing them all in the rivers. They're damming up the rivers with all these 20 million bodies, and they all died from hemorrhaging. I went back and reviewed all the autopsies they did and published and reported back then. They're all dying from hemorrhaging in their lungs. Well, why was that? Well, that's because they've been eating wheat for 8,000, 10,000 years, because wheat was a wild grass in India, Pakistan, Iran, and Iraq. Right. And so they'd been eating wheat for all 10,000 years. And so all their intestines were totally dead. And that's why. Well, after the First World War, they switched over to rice just because they got more yield. They didn't know there was a connection, but they switched over to rice because there was a bigger yield because of all the rain and swamps and everything like that, because rice likes that.
Right.
And so now, because of the COVID virus, India has fewer deaths. They have like 4,000 deaths, totally since the COVID virus thing started almost a year ago. California has 25% more deaths than India does. And India has 1.3 billion people, and California only has 39 million. Okay. And that's because now in India, their intestines are healed. They can absorb minerals, and they have the white blood cells to kill this current virus.
Right. So, and we're going to wrap up right now. I just want to ask one more question. One of your philosophies, and you say this often, it's in your books, and you say it whenever you're lecturing: when the body has the right vitamins, minerals, and nutrition, it has the power to heal itself.
That is correct.
So expound on that. So if people, their body is in trouble, their health is in trouble, they need proper if they have the proper stuff in their body, it can heal itself?
That's correct. We were given, all vertebrates, whether you're a fish or a snake or a rabbit or a human being or a hummingbird or an ostrich or a monkey or a wombat or a kangaroo or a cow or a dog or a cat, it doesn't matter, a lizard, an alligator, all vertebrates were given the power to heal injured cells and tissues and organs, to replace dead cells, whether it's dead from an infection or an injury, or just the cell met its lifespan and died of old age.
Yeah.
Our bodies have the capacity. This is what the genes we do have in our body, this is what the genes are for, is to replace injured or dead cells and tissues and organs.
Wow.
We have that capacity. However, there is a primary directive.
Yes.
You need the 90 essential nutrients. You need the raw materials. Just like you can have the greatest factory on earth that can make rockets that go to the moon and Mars and everything. And this factory will make rockets to perfection.
Yes.
But that factory still needs metal and fiberglass and wiring and people who know how to put it together. You still need all the infrastructure. And this is what we're missing, okay, in modern American life. We're getting calories. You might be getting some protein. And that's about it. That's why we're in trouble, okay? Yeah. And so we need these 90 essential nutrients. This is the prime directive. We'll maximize our lifespans. We'll maximize our health levels if we take in these 90 essential nutrients every day, and we're avoiding the gluten so we can maximize absorption.
Absolutely. I showed earlier a picture of the Healthy Start Pack and how important that is. And Dr. Wallach, thank you. Thank you for our first episode of Ask Dr. Wallach. We will have you back again. We so appreciate you. Thank you for what you've done for the world, for people's health. We've left you a phone number, 800-632-9657. If you have a question for Dr. Wallach, or if you need to ask us anything, give us a call and we'll get your questions answered, because when your body has the right vitamins, minerals, and nutrition, it has the power to heal itself. Thank you, Dr. Wallach. You're the best.
Thank you so much, Ms. Linda, and thank you for your team. God bless you, and let's do this again. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Bye.